The air hangs thick with the reek of unwashed leather and horse sweat, a fog of it rising from the mud-churned ground like a curse exhaled from the earth itself. You hear it first, the low rumble of cartwheels grinding over stone, the snort of oxen straining under load, the muffled sobs that no amount of gagging can silence. Then the shadows emerge from the torchlight haze. A line of girls, perhaps 20, their fine stole torn and muddied, wrists bound with rough hemp that bites into skin once washed with rosewater. They stumble forward, eyes downcast, into the sprawl of tents that stretch like a beast's hide across the Pannonian plain. Soldiers leer from the fire pits, their laughter a jagged blade scraping bone. At the heart of it all, a colossus rises from his camp chair, his silhouette blotting the moon. Maximinus Thrax, 8 feet of Thracian fury, they whisper, a man who could crush a boar's skull in one fist. He doesn't smile, he never does, but his voice booms like thunder trapped in a cavern. Bring them closer. Let the senator's pride warm our hearths tonight. The first girl lifts her head, her name lost to the night Livia, daughter of a forgotten consul, and in that gaze, Rome's ancient order cracks. This is no battlefield. This is the devouring, and it has only just begun. What you're about to hear involves accounts of sexual violence and systematic degradation, drawn from the shadowed corners of ancient chronicles. These events, or the tales spun from them, are documented in fragments but laced with the venom of propaganda. They're disturbing, yes, born from a time when rumor was weapon sharper than steel. If this pulls you under too deep, step away. I get it. For those who stay, remember, we chase not the gore, but the gears of empire that ground good people to dust. From that muddy procession in the spring of 238, the story unravels backward, a thread pulled from the fraying robe of Rome itself. You might picture a mad giant loose on the throne, a barbarian crashing the senator's feast with axes and appetites. This wasn't madness run wild. This was a machine, oiled by 3 years of war and resentment, designed to remake the empire in the image of the barracks. Maximinus Thrax didn't stumble into power. He was forged for it. The first emperor plucked straight from the ranks, no senatorial polish, no equestrian silver spoon. Born around 173 inches, a Thrace scraped raw by borders and bandits modern Bulgaria's jagged hills, where the Danube whispers secrets to the wind, he was no prince playing soldier. He was the son of peasants, perhaps a Goth father and Allan mother. Names like Mika and Ababa scrubbed from records when the purple cloak draped his shoulders. Rome, that eternal city of marble and myth, stretched from scorching African sands to foggy British mists, a colossus of 50 million souls ruled by emperors who'd long blurred the line between God and man. But by 235, the Severan dynasty, those Syrian-tinged rulers like Severus Alexander, the boy emperor tugged by his mother's strings, had frayed under Germanic hammers and Persian shadows. The legions, starving for victory and gold, turned on Alexander near the Rhine's chill banks. They slaughtered him, his mother Julia Mamaea, and hoisted Maximinus on their shields. The Senate, those togaed ghosts in the Forum, grumbled but stamped the decree. After all, what choice? The machine hummed on. Yet stakes loomed larger than one giant's shadow. This was the spark of the crisis of the 3rd century. 50 years of emperors rising and falling like autumn leaves, borders bleeding, coinage debased to scraps. Maximinus embodied the shift. Power not from bloodlines or oratory, but from the grunt of the foot soldier, the clash of iron on the frontier. Why does it echo now? Because every empire builds its walls with the bones of the elite it crushes, and when those walls crack, the flood carries the whispers of the silenced. In 238, as revolt bloomed in Africa's sun-baked fields, those whispers became a roar. But that spring procession, it was the machine's cruelest turn, a rumor or reality that turned noble daughters into tools of terror, breaking not just bodies, but the invisible chains of class that held Rome upright. This tale isn't about one man's hunger. It's about how fear forges tyrants, and how defiance, even in whispers, topples them. The machine didn't assemble itself overnight. Picture Thrace in the 180 seconds, a land of goat tracks and bandit lairs, where boys learned to wield a sling before a stylus. Maximinus Gaius Julius Verus, they called him. The name's a thin Roman varnish over barbarian roots was no delicate flower. Chronicles paint him as a shepherd first, then a brigand chief, his frame already hinting at the legend. Over 8 feet, they claimed, though scholars now peg him closer to 6'6", a tower among men. Strength was his currency. Under Septimius Severus, that iron-fisted emperor of 193 to 211, Maximinus joined the ranks, wrestling mules for sport, shattering helmets and drills. Severus spotted him during a Thracian muster, legend says, and murmured, "This one's for the guard." By Alexander's reign, the soft-spoken youth puppeteered by Mamaea, Maximinus commanded the 4th Italica Legion in Pannonia's swampy forts, modern Hungary's Danube bends, where fog cloaks the rushes like a shroud. The empire, then? A beast wheezing under its own weight. Severus Alexander, barely 20, faced Alemanni hordes gnawing the Rhine like wolves at a flank. Taxes choked the provinces, senators hoarded villas, while legions begged bread. Maximinus, ever the soldier's soldier, chafed at Alexander's caution payoffs to barbarians, retreats that smelled of cowardice. Formative blows shaped him here, not in cradle tales, but in the crucible of command. First, the mutiny of 235. Near Moguntiacum, today's Mainz, troops bayed for blood after a botched parley. Alexander and Mamaea fell to blades in their tent, their heads on pikes like trophies from a hunt. Maximinus, proclaimed on the spot, felt the throne's weight and its isolation. Senators sneered at his accent, his barbarian blood. Whispers called him unfit, a Thracian ox in the palace. That sting birthed the second blow. Betrayal's shadow. A rival, Magnus, a senator general, plotted in the east. Maximinus crushed him swift, heads rolling from Antioch to the Alps. Trauma twisted here, not boyhood scars, but the empire's snub. "They see me as beast," he might have growled to his aides, "so I'll rule as one." Paranoia crystallized in 236, after victories over Dacians and Sarmatians, tribes crushed on the frozen Danube, their gold funneled to double soldiers' pay. But victory bred envy. Informers flooded his camp, tales of senatorial plots. He struck back. Estates seized, trials rigged, the forum's marble echoing with wails. The machine whirred taxmen as spies, legions as enforcers. And in that grind, the darkest gear turned. Families, not just fortunes, as leverage. Rumors swirled of daughters summoned to entertain the camps, a degradation whispered in Roman villas like poison in wine. Not random lust, but calculated shatter break the fathers, own the line. By 237, the Senate tallied 80 executions. By 238, the machine devoured its own tail. But let's humanize the colossus before the fall. Maximinus wasn't spawned from hellfire. He married Caecilia Paulina, a Roman woman of quiet grace, her name hinting at old consular stock, a bridge to the world that shunned him. Their son, Maximus, born around 218, was no mini-tyrant but a youth polished in Greek tutors, betrothed to Julia Mamaea, great-granddaughter of Antoninus Pius himself. Letters from Alexander before the knives praised the boy as handsome and learned, a balm to his father's wounds. Maximinus doted, they say, gifting Maximus a pony from Persian spoils, teaching him the spear throw under Pannonian stars. Yet the throne warped it all. One night in 236, after quelling a mutiny in Moesia, Maximinus confided to his prefect Vitalianus, a grizzled Illyrian, secondary to none in loyalty, who'd risen with him from centurion muck. "They call me barbarian, Vitalianus, as if the eagle cares for birth." Vitalianus, broad as a gatepost, clapped his shoulder. "Let them. The legions roar your name," but doubt gnawed. A third formative strike, the Christian purges of 235. Alexander's court brimmed with bishops. Maximinus, scorning superstition, exiled Pontian and Hippolytus to Sardinia's mines. Not zeal, but erasure wiped the old faith's advisors, install his own machine. By 237, temples stripped, their gold minted for donatives. Senators, many secret sympathizers, seethed. The turning point came that winter, as snow cloaked Sirmium's barracks. A dispatch from Rome, plots afoot, names listed senators like Sabinus, families entangled. Maximinus rose, eyes like coals. No more half measures. Orders flew. Summon the daughters. Not all, The chronicles hedge historians debate the scale, whispers of dozens, not thousands, but enough to poison wells. The machine clicked into overdrive, camp swelling with guests to humble the proud. Vitalianus protested once, in a tent lit by tallow, "Sire, this breaks more than wills." Maximinus silenced him with a glare. "It binds them." And so the spring of 238 dawned, the procession rolling north, the empire's fracture line glowing red. Dawn breaks cold over the Pannonian camps, a gray light seeping through canvas flaps like doubt into a tyrant's dream. It's early 238, 3 years into Maximinus's reign, and the air bites with the promise of thaw, or thaw's betrayal. Sirmium sprawls before you, not the marble dream of Rome, but a fortress of timber and turf, 50,000 souls crammed into ditches and drill yards. The Danube laps nearby, its waters dark as the rumors that swirl with the mist. Tents huddle in orderly rows, smoke from cook fires twisting upward, carrying the tang of barley stew and oiled armor. Soldiers, Pannonians mostly, hardy Illyrians with tattooed arms and eyes hardened by border skirmishes mill about, sharpening blades or dicing bones. Laughter rings sharp, but under it, attention coils, like a bowstring knocked too tight. This is Act 1, the setup, where the machine hums smooth, its cogs greased by fear. Livia moves through this world like a shadow cast by better days. 20 summers old, daughter of Senator Marcus Priscus, a consular once. His villas dotting the Campanian coast, she was raised on Virgil's verses and the scent of olive groves. Before the summons, her life unfolded in Rome's gentle rhythms. Mornings in the atrium, weaving threads with her sisters. Afternoons debating philosophy, with tutors whose beards smelled of ink. Priscus, a widower of stern brow and silvered hair, doted quietly, gifting her a pearl brooch from Parthian trade. "Wear it," he'd said, "and remember, our blood is Rome's spine." She dreamed of marriage to a young Equus, children chasing peacocks in sun-dappled courts. But in late 237, as Maximinus's edicts scorched the provinces like desert winds, Priscus erred. A letter, indiscreet, hinting at Senate murmurs against the Thracian upstart, informers greasy men with honeyed words and iron hearts carried it north. The reply came swift. Arrest for Priscus, summons for his kin. Livia, eldest, volunteered. "Let me face it, father." The machine spares no one, her voice steady, but inside, a flutter like trapped birds. She boards the cart in February's chill, Rome fading behind, the Via Appia a ribbon of dust and despair. By March, the camps swallow her. Tension builds slow, a pot set to simmer. The cart halts at Sirmium's gates, guards leering as they cut her bonds, not mercy, but theater. Vitalianus awaits, his face a mask of duty, eyes flicking away. The emperor demands. "Hospitality," he mutters, leading her to the command tent. Inside, the air thickens with incense and sweat. Maps sprawled like flayed skins. Maximinus looms, not seated but pacing, his frame filling the space like a storm cloud. No crown, just a plain cloak over mail, but his presence crushes. "Daughter of Priscus," he rumbles, voice gravel ground under boot. "Your father whispers against the eagle. Rome bleeds for it." Livia straightens, heart hammering. "My father serves the Senate, Caesar, as you serve the gods." A pause, heavy as lead. He circles, close enough, she smells the wine on his breath, the iron of campaigns. "Serve, I conquer, and you will teach him loyalty." The demand lands soft, a velvet glove over steel. Entertain the officers, warm the camp's cold nights. Refusal? Priscus's head on a spike. Her sister's next. Vitalianus shifts, uncomfortable but silent. Livia's mind races flight impossible, pleas futile. One night, she bargains, voice a thread. Maximinus laughs, low and without joy. The machine doesn't bargain, it turns. The act itself? Cut away. No need to linger in the dark. Dawn finds Livia hollowed, stola discarded like shed skin, a cloak thrown over her shoulders by a pitying servant. She stumbles out, the camp stirring to life, soldiers averting eyes or smirking. Word spreads not in shouts, but ripples. Priscus's line humbled, the Senate's pride dragged through mud. Others follow daughters of consulars, Vestals kin dozens. The tales inflate to hundreds. then 5,000 in vengeful chronicles. This wasn't about flesh alone. It was the system laid bare. Informers as eyes, legions as fists, emperor as architect. Fathers broke first, signing away estates, oaths of fealty scrawled in trembling ink. Modern echoes whisper in boardrooms, where leverage twists kin into pawns. Think whistleblowers silenced, families shadowed. By April, as African revolts flicker, the machine's hum falters. Livia, spared the camp's depths by Vitalianus's quiet intervention, slips a message south. The giant devours his own, but that's for later acts. For now, the setup holds. The daughters march, and Rome watches. Breath held. Shift now. The rhythm breaks a pattern interrupt. From victim's gaze to the executor's shadow. Vitalianus trudges the camp's edge that summer of 237, the Danube's murmur a counterpoint to the drill's thud. He's no poet, this secondary figure, just a man of 40 winters, scarred from Dacian spears, loyal since Severus's days. Born in Dalmatia's salt winds, he climbed with Maximinus, sharing tent and triumph, his wife back in Aquileia baking bread for legion wives. From his view, the machine isn't cruelty's carnival, it's necessity's grindstone. Orders come sealed, wax stamped with the eagle. Secure the daughters, bind the fathers. He reads, stomach turning. Not for the act, soldiers know camp comforts, but the method. This breaks the code, he tells his second, a wiry Thracian named Drusus. We fight barbarians, not blood. Drusus shrugs, dice clicking. Emperor's will, or yours on a pike. Incentives flow like wine. Gold for silence, promotion for zeal. Reports climb the chain prefect to legate, legate to Caesar, each stamped approved. Spread, swift as plague. From Pannonia to Moesia, couriers gallop, summons fanning out. Whole villas emptied, not of lives but legacies. A merchant's widow in Thessalonica sees her niece carted north. A bishop from eastern provinces hears confessions from shattered kin. Human terms paint the toll, not 80 executions, but empty senatorial benches, forum echoes hollow. Villages near the camps whisper of the emperor's harvest, girls vanishing like dew. Numbers blur chronicles like Herodian tally dozens summoned, Historia Augusta hints at wider nets, modern counts debate, 20 confirmed, rumors to 5,000. But scale it small. 1 girl, then 10, tents swelling with guests amid the barley fields. Incentives? A soldier gets extra grain for guarding, a centurion a villa lot from seized lands. The machinery? Informers paid in silver, trials in absentia, appeals crushed under boot. A breather, ironic. Amid the grim, a dark contrast blooms. Maximinus, the giant, hosts feasts for his wards, roast boar from German hunts, wine from confiscated cellars where laughter rings false, and eyes meet in silent packs. One brief moment, Livia, in a side tent, shares bread with another, Valeria, daughter of a praetor. They think us broken, Valeria whispers, fingers tracing a hidden stylus, but ink endures. They etch names on scraps, a litany of the lost. Vitalianus stumbles on it once, pauses, then walks away. The spread halts not by mercy, but momentum. African sparks in 238, Gordian the Elder rising in Carthage. The machine escalates, but cracks spiderweb its frame. From the enforcer's view, it's no glory, just gears turning, until one slips. Time jumps now, pacing quickens from simmer to storm, perspective flipping to the survivor who slipped the net. It's late winter, 238, the machine at full roar, but resistance flickers like embers in ash. Enter no name here, just the widow from Brundisium, a senator's spouse who'd buried her husband to Maximinus's blade, her daughter snatched for the camps. She wasn't summoned too old, they deemed, but the loss hollowed her. From her angle, escalation unfolds not in tents, but letters smuggled south, whispers in ports where ships groan under illicit grain. The persecution metastasizes. After Livia's cohort, more pour in daughters from Gaul's viney hills, Spain's olive groves trains snaking the Via Egnatia like veins pulsing poison. The machinery gleams colder. Regional prefects report quotas, 5 per household for re-education, incentives tripled land grants for compliance. Numbers in flesh. A village near Nisus empties its young women, elders wailing as carts roll. Eastern bishop's pen, pleas that vanish in transit. But breathers pierce the grind, an ironic detail. Soldiers, fresh from Sarmatian bloodbaths, pity the Roman flowers wilting in mud, slipping them extra cloaks or crusts, murmurs of, "This ain't war," seeding doubt. One specific moment, different victim. Not a noble's bloom, but a plebeian's grit, a baker's girl from Sirmium, 18, snared for her father's disloyal yeast taxes. She resists, bites a guard's hand, earns a lash, but not the break. In the tense dim, she spits at an officer. "Your emperor's no man, just a hill with hunger." Word flies. Maximinus rages, but spares her for sport, they say, parading her defiance to cow the rest. Yet it backfires. Whispers spread, even the low rise. Geographic shift. South to Africa, where Gordian the Elder, 80 summers bent but unbroken, hears the tales via merchant sails. "The camps feast on our future," he declares in Carthage's sun, revolt igniting. The machine strains incentives falter as pay lags, reports clog with desertions. A quiet observation. Under Pannonian stars, the widow stitches a map from memory, pins marking the lost. They take bodies, she thinks, needle flashing, but not the thread. Escalation peaks not in screams, but silence the kind that precedes storm. By spring, as Maximinus marches on Italy, the gears whine. Defiance, small as a stolen stylus, oils the rebellion's wheel. Slow it down now, time stretching like taffy pulled taut the climax. Where intensity peaks, senses flood the ear. April 238, Aquileia's walls rise stubborn against the Julian Alps' snow caps, a northern bulwark mocking the giant's tread. The air, crisp with pine and fierce sweat, the clang of rams on gates, a heartbeat too loud. Maximinus's host, 30,000 strong, Pannonians and Moesians, eagles glinting, encircles the city, siege lines coiling like serpents in heat. Tents sprawl vast, cookfires winking 10,000 lights, the Danube's echo, a distant roar. Sensory tide. Taste the dust grit in your bread. Feel the males chafe on rain-slick skin. Hear the sapper's grunts mingling with prisoners' moans. This is the breaking, not just stone, but the machine's spine. The peak horror crests in the command pavilion, canvas walls flapping like dying breaths. Maximinus, unhelmed, veins bulging like rivers on a map, pores over charts stained with wine. Vitalianus enters, mud to knees, face ashen. "Sire, the walls hold. Supplies dwindle, men murmur of home." Maximinus wheels, fist crashing a table, splinters flying. "Home? Rome starves us." The senators spawn in their villas, plotting while we bleed. Outside, the guests now hundreds. Rumors to thousands huddle in guarded enclosures, their presence a festering wound. Livia, gaunt but unbowed, tends a fevered girl, whispering tales of forum triumphs to still sobs. The act, implied in shadows. Nights where officers claim rights, cries muffled by wind, the machine's logic unyielding, break them, bind the fathers. But restraint reigns, let the echo suffice. Maximinus stalks the lines, bellowing orders, his shadow swallowing torchlight. Sensory crush, the ram's boom shakes earth, arrows whistle like vengeful shades, blood from a skirmish spatters warm. The crack comes subtle, a hairline in marble. May's Eve, as Aquileia's catapults hurl stones like angry gods, mutiny simmers in the Second Parthica legion wives held hostage in Rome, senators' gold-buying whispers. Vitalianus corners Maximinus at dusk, voice low. The men tire, Caesar. The daughters, it poisons them. Maximinus roars, backhand sending his prefect staggering. Traitor's tongue, but doubt flickers eyes dart to the horizon, where Italian scouts flicker like distant fires. Overreach, he executes 3 officers on suspicion, heads on spikes to inspire. It backfires. That night, as rain lashes tents, soldiers gather knives drawn, oaths sworn. Dawn breaks to screams. Blades in the colossus's back, his son Maximus dragged from sleep, throats slit in tandem. The machine shudders, gears locking in blood. Livia, freed in the chaos, slips the lines with the widow's map, heading south. The breaking, not the giant's fall, but the system's fears currency devalued, defiance minted anew. Aquileia cheers from walls unbreached, the floodgates yawn. Maximinus's end came swift. no epic dirge. In May 238, his corpse, that towering frame, languished in Aquileia's ditch, pecked by crows till unrecognizable. His son, the polished youth, shared the pyre unbuilt, heads spiked on gates as warnings turned to jests. Vitalianus, slain in the melee, loyalty his noose. Power shifted jagged. The Senate's puppets, Pupienus and Balbinus, clutched the throne in Rome, only to fall to praetorian knives by July. Gordian III, a boy of 13, rose on the wave, his reign a brief gasp before the crisis churned on. Survivors? Fractured. Livia wed quietly in Carthage, birthing sons who joined the legions, not for vengeance, but survival. Priscus, ransomed by Gordian's grace, faded to a villa's shadow, his line diluted but unbroken. The community? Senators regrouped, vowing reform, but the machine evolved emperors now barracks bred, thrones auctioned to highest bidder. Long-term scars. The 3rd century's hemorrhage, 50 rulers in 50 years, borders frayed, economy gutted. Ironic twist. Maximinus's coins, stamped with victories, funded the very revolts that felled him Germanic gold-buying Italian blades. The daughters? Most vanished into marriages or silence, their service a stain scrubbed from stone, but etched in memory's underbelly. The empire staggered on, but the old order? Powdered to dust. Centuries buried deeper than ditch mud, but digs unearth the bones. Fast forward to 2017, when archaeologist Paul Pearson, modern discoverer, a geochemist turned historian, his hands more at home in soil than scrolls, stumbled on Maximinus's trail in Bulgaria's Karnobat hills. Not a tomb, but shards. A villa mosaic, faded but fierce, depicting Thracian hunts with a giant's silhouette. Pearson, sifting under relentless sun, pieced it with coins from Aquileia's hoard, 238 mints, crude and defiant, eagle-clutching thunderbolts. This wasn't myth, he told a TED crowd, voice steady as Danube silt. The machine left marks. Earlier, in 2001, Alison E. Coolies dig at the Hartshorn battlefield, Germany's Osnabrück woods, yielded arrowheads and buckles from Maximinus's 235 Alemanni rout, ballista bolts twisted like the fates he wrought. What proved it? Inscriptions, damnatio memoriae scraps, senators' names chiseled out, but ghosts in the gaps. Pearson's book, Maximinus Thrax, from common soldier to emperor of Rome, wove the threads Herodian's fragments, Augusta's venom revealing not a monster, but a man manufactured by margins. Tangible? Hold a denarius in your palm, feel the ridges where Thrax was scratched tentative. Human? Pearson, father of 3, paused mid-dig. He broke families, but families endure. Why linger on this ghost? One parallel grounds it. Today's power plays, where whistleblowers kin face shadows, think exiled journalists, families doxxed in digital camps. Not preachy, just plain. Maximinus teaches that machines of control, whether barracks or algorithms, thrive on division, class against class, rumor against truth, resistance, the universal spark, a daughter's whisper, a soldier's pause, ink on stolen parchment. Human nature bends, but doesn't break clean. Tyrants fall when the broken refuse to kneel. Power's lesson. It devours upward until the base revolts. In 238's echo, we see our own gears turning surveillance states. Elite purges masked as policy. The truth? Systems don't self-destruct. People do, with quiet fire. Return to that procession, mud sucking at wheels, sobs threading the night. But now, the line halts. Guards scatter chaos from Aquileia's roar. Livia steps free, cloak billowing, the moon full as witness. What changed? The giant toppled, his machine rusted to scrap. The daughters didn't vanish. They seeded the revolt, their names etched in Gordian's decrees, archaeology's patient hands. They were meant to be erased, fodder for frontier fires. But they walked out, heads high, threads unbroken. Where do they survive? In Pearson's digs, Hartshorn's bolts, the coins that bought their freedom. In the Senate's rebound, the crisis's forge that hammered stronger steel. And now, they're here with you because you listened, sifting rumor from relic. If this tale stirred something that itched to unearth, more drop a comment. What's the machine in your world that needs dismantling? Subscribe for the next unearthing. History's not dead, just waiting for ears like yours. Then silence falls. The story breathes.